Let's do this. The hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David, how are you doing this fine morning?
I'm doing fine. Looks like a beautiful day out there, and maybe get out there and pull some dandelions in a few moments. Because there's
Here
no
in
shortage
Edmonton,
in our
it
yard.
might be storming later. This is Friday morning in Edmonton for those who might be watching the podcast at some future point.
Yeah. Is that the forecast?
Time has stood still for the subjects that we're looking at, David. Nothing's changing. They're done playing their hockey for the season, so they can.
Yeah,
Doesn't
there's
matter
the
what day
playoffs
it
going
is.
on, Bruce? The playoffs are going on, and we're out of it, so we're left to what we usually do at this time of year, which is to go over Edmonton Oilers players. And today we're going to go over Adam Larsson. We're going to do our keep, hold, and fold fold podcast on Adam Larsson. Uh, is he 28 still? 28-year-old defenseman,
Mm-hmm.
veteran NHL defenseman,
Yep.
high draft pick to the Devils, acquired in the famous slash infamous Taylor Hall trade.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not so infamous anymore, Bruce. Maybe not so infamous anymore. Although people's mileage on that one will differ.
Yep.
Um, we're gonna look at him. What should the Oilers do with him? Let's start out though, Bruce. Let's just talk about the current event, which was, I think, a major current event, the Mark Scheifele suspension.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's interesting because I do think even 3 years ago, I'm going to say that would not be a suspension, even
Mm-hmm.
3 years ago, and that something has changed. And I think it's heavily related to the concussion issue,
Mm-hmm. Oh, sure.
which has come to the fore increasingly in the last few years,
Mm-hmm.
and our acceptance of violent play in hockey, even violent play that would have been legal for a long time in the NHL. I'm certain 10 years ago there would be no suspension. Definitely 29 years ago, no suspension on a play like that, because the NHL has forever allowed two things, Bruce. They have forever allowed late hits. This is the what is called finishing your check,
Right.
which says even after a player doesn't
Finishing.
have the puck, even after he's passed the puck, there's
Mm-hmm.
like one steamboat, two steamboats, and you can smash the guy
Mm-hmm.
into the end. And that's been allowed in the NHL. I've never liked it. I just think if he
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have the puck, it should be like in football when the passer gets rid of it. You're done. You can't hit him again. It's over.
Right.
But the NHL allows this, and it's always allowed this. And the other thing it's
Mm-hmm.
always allowed, Bruce, is this was particularly bad in the 70s and 80s. Well, kind of my formative years as a hockey fan, is
Mm-hmm.
after a player scored a goal, there seemed to be a free, you get your free shot.
Mm-hmm.
He scored, and because you're mad and frustrated, you're allowed one free shot on the guy,
Yep.
punish him. So those two
Yep.
things, was NHL culture, and it has been, and so on a certain level, I was surprised to see a suspension, because I think again that this wouldn't have been suspendable. Zach Cassian's hit on Logan Couture in the playoffs didn't get a suspension.
Mm-hmm.
Every it was it every bit as brutal? It was close. Let's put it in the same category of charging, of running a
Yeah, it was
guy.
charging for sure.
Yeah, running a guy. Did he get a penalty? I can't remember. Charging, running a guy,
I'm not even sure they called a penalty. I just remember the crowd just roaring and
and us
I mean the crowd
in full
crowd
approval.
crowd crowd liked it. I mean he was charging around the ice all night. I'll say that I haven't seen very many charges where the guy started at one goal line and skated basically as hard as he could all the way to the other goal line to then obliterate an opponent. And I saw a few things in there that disturbed me. Number one was Scheifele uh, made no attempt to play the puck. I mean, if he say he was making a defensive play, he had to lead with his stick, and when he got there, he has his hand holding his stick actually had the elbow back, and the stick withdrawn as Evans was tucking the puck in the net. He wasn't even looking at the puck. He was looking at Evans. He had every intention of obliterating him. It was near as I could tell. Of course, none of us is inside his head, but obliterate him he did. And I mean, the way Evans went down to the ice was scary indeed. His head hit the ice and he, was lying there face down on the ice, not moving. And it just, to me, it looked predatory and retaliatory. And it wasn't even like he had some kind of physical beef with Evans. It was that bad guy, other team trying to score a goal. Get him. That was kind of it seems to be the brainstem kind of reaction to the play. And at that speed, I mean, he took 18 strides, David. There's a isolated video of Scheifele starting from the other end, and a couple of them he's just sort of turning and then he realizing. So maybe it was only the last 14 or so where he was trying to get up to full speed. But that's like taking your car from the intersection and going first gear, second gear, third gear, fourth gear. By the time he got to the guy, he was going at highway speeds, and I mean, he's got to take better care and show better respect than that. And I mean, to me, the call was right. 5 for charging, game misconduct, absolutely. Suspension. I mean, we can quibble about the number of games, but the fact that he got suspended is absolutely the right call.
I completely agree with all that. And I think the NHL got this right, by the way. Like, I think they made the right call. I agree with your interpretation that, hockey happens fast, but not that fast. He's reading the play. He knows, he's constantly reading the play at the highest of levels because he is a great NHL hockey player. He's seeing him come around the net. He sees he's going to score. He knows there's nothing he can do. Right. Otherwise, if there was something he could have done, it would have been stick on puck. He would have tried to stop him from scoring. There's none of that from Scheifele because it happens a full steamboat before he gets to within range of the player. The puck's in the net. He has a choice then. He can let up, or he can pulverize the guy, and he decided to pulverize the guy. Bruce, I do think he charged fast initially. Then he cruised a little bit, I thought, slowed down a little bit. As he was reading the play, where's he going to go? And then he sped up again. So I don't think it was ever increasing momentum. I think it was fast momentum. There's a moment where I could be mistaken, but this is my memory of the videotape. I was just going to call it up again. And then he does accelerate again into the hit, probably the last 5 strides, which is charging, right? Which is a penalty and
his last. I mean, he was going full speed, so he didn't have to keep.
He was going fast. Yeah,
and the fact is that he, the boards were coming up. I mean, the other guy that was hustling back, I think it was Pionk, was flying back, and he also pulled up because he was actually trying to play the puck, but he also didn't want to take himself and crash into the net. So he was, judging. I'm going to go as hard as I can and stop as hard as I can right at the blue paint and try and Scheifele was faster than Pionk and got there first, but he went beside the net and just carried right on through and Kapawi. And I don't know, David, the amount of victim blaming I'm hearing out there, people saying, well, Evans needs to keep his head up. He should have took the puck into the corner. He shouldn't be trying to score goals, Yeah, right. And he should have had his head up. Well, he did have his head up. He looked as he went around the corner. He said, I got time to put this in the net. I'm going to tuck it home. And his thought process is surely, no way is that guy just going to come all the way at me like an 18-wheeler and just plow right through me and try and kill me. But there was no respect shown there. And frankly, no contrition shown afterwards by Scheifele at any point. I will say, that the job that Nick Ehlers did and the job that the linesman did to protect the fallen Paul Evans while there was a huge scrum developing right around and behind him was brilliant. I gained even more respect for Ehlers, who's a player I've always liked, but his focus, even during the scrum, was to protect the fallen player, and it didn't matter that he was a player on the other team. He was looking out for him, and that was a sort of the silver lining to this ugly play.
Bruce, when I hear that people make the comment, you should keep your head up, I actually agree with them. Like when, that comment about, let's just divorce it from this situation. Yeah. When you're playing pro hockey at the NHL level, which is a contact sport, and you taking the man is legal, you should keep your head up. So now Evans in that moment might have been, we don't know what he's thinking. I'm guessing he's thinking, even if I get hit on this play, I'm going to take,
I got to
the
score.
ethic
Take
in
one for
pro
the team.
hockey and the playoff ethic is you take the hit to make the play. That's how you're a playoff hero, right?
Hmm.
So that's what I'm assuming he's not thinking anything except I'm going to do whatever it takes to score a goal. So was he aware that he was probably aware that there was back pressure coming at him, and he might take a hit. And yeah, I think that for what it's worth,
Hmm.
generally it's worth a lot. The advice to keep your head up, but that doesn't mean it's open season on you.
Right.
Once you've delivered the puck, once you've passed the
Right.
puck, it's a late freaking hit. And
Yeah.
this is the problem in hockey. If he had the puck and he got hit like that, I think I might think otherwise about it, honestly.
Still
Um,
charging.
Still charging. Fair enough. Still charging. But he didn't have the puck. It's a late hit. And so I always,
Hmm.
in these situations, because I'm an Oilers fan and I'm so partisan,
Hmm.
I always apply to the Connor McDavid rule,
Hmm.
and which is if that happened to Connor McDavid, if Connor McDavid got hit like that, what would be my reaction?
Right.
Would I brush it off? Or if Connor McDavid threw that hit,
Yeah.
if he was the guy, or Leon
Hmm.
Draisaitl, if he
Hmm.
threw that hit,
Hmm.
what would be my reaction? So you have to have these various
Right.
checks that pull you in different directions. But clearly, if Connor McDavid got hit like this, people would have
Hmm.
apoplectic with rage. We would just
Well, it
be
would be no penalty.
beyond.
It'd be no penalty though. If it was, maybe that's what Scheifele was thinking. We're so used to playing against McDavid, we can do whatever the hell we want out here.
That's the best point
He
you've made all day,
said.
Bruce.
He said bitterly.
that is that is brilliant. Points for you, points for Bruce. Maybe that's it. They just got used. They just thought, hey, we can do whatever we want. We can take
Yeah.
whatever liberties we want because they don't call us on anything. Yeah. I mean, DeMello taking McDavid's knee out. Anyway, so if it was McDavid or
Hmm.
Draisaitl delivering that hit, I hope I would say the same thing. Like that is a late hit,
It's
and
excessive.
and
Yeah.
and it's excessive. And I
Hmm.
don't. I really do think the NHL, if they want to avoid this kind of thing, they need to change that rule. You don't have the puck anymore. The second you don't have the puck, you can't get hit. Sorry. Now maybe people will pass the puck quickly to not get hit, but it's a little bit. Is it the arm in motion thing? I don't watch football anymore. It used
Right.
to be with your
Yeah.
arms in motion, something like that. I can't even remember the
Yeah. I
rules.
mean, you got to give them. I think you got to give them the first
Something you
steamboat. If the person has the puck and you're committing to the hit and they get rid of it and you hit them, like there's a little bit of gray area there where you take the hit to make the play. It's part of the game. If you take that out of the game, then you might as well. I don't know how you govern it there.
it's
But
non-contact hockey, like
I I
people play at all
hmm
levels of hockey. Then, but
right.
if you want to play contact, you do. I think there has to be a little leeway. But this to me was on the other side of that. It was
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
clearly the play was not only had he passed it, the play was over. There's no future play because he scored a goal.
Puck was in the net. Yeah. Yeah. And for
Terrible
all
by
the other
Scheifele.
thing I'm hearing is that it's not fair that Scheifele has to might have to miss the rest of the series. Well, what do you
Boo.
think? What do you think Paul Evans' future is in this series? How many more games is he going to play in this series? I'm suspecting zero. You know, I mean, took he hurt an opponent and probably put him out for a while. Not to mention the guy got just got his third concussion. I mean, it's
Is
frightening
it Jake
prospect from his
Evans?
point of view.
It's
Is
Jake
it
Evans.
Jake Evans? My bad.
It's Bruce. There's been so many Evanses. It's like the
Hmm.
Fosters. It's like try
Hmm.
getting a Foster's name right in the NHL.
Right.
It's been lots of Evanses. So
Yeah. Yeah,
um,
I remember that this is a guy. He scored two beautiful goals against the Oilers this year, Jake Evans,
that
and
he was on a good
he's just
line.
a good, yeah, and he was playing a key role on an important line that helped
Lakeinen
take
and
out Toronto. So
was it Lakeinen and
anyway,
Byron and him? Yeah, that
it
was a
was
good
at
line.
times, yeah. Anyway, it's an unfortunate thing, and I'm watching the series. I honestly, on when the game started, I thought I'm not sure I'm not rooting for the Jets here, but really I'm just in neutral, and and I got nothing for Mark Scheifele, but I don't like that hit.
Fair enough. I didn't like it either. It was Ray. I was listening to Ryan Whitney, and he was
Hmm.
he was defending the hit.
Yeah.
and saying if Evans had popped right to his feet and celebrated, would we be saying the same thing? Which is that's another fair comment. Like that's worth
Hmm.
thinking about, right? Like it's often if he had popped right up and was like whoa, but so I don't think it's an insane, but that's not what happened, and it's still one of these late hits and a brutal late hit. So I'm good. I was good
At
with
highway
suspension.
speeds. That's my, that's sort of my tagline to this entire thing. It was done at highway speed. He got it up to full NHL speed, and he went right through, plowed right through the guy who was in a vulnerable position.
You could kill someone hitting them that hard. Uh,
Hmm.
200 a 210-pound player skating at 30 kilometers an hour, whatever he skates at,
Hmm.
plowing into a guy like that is, yeah. The speed of the game has changed things too. I think it's also part of the change in our attitude. Just the damage that comes out of the collisions now, because the players are that much bigger and faster, in general, has also led to some rethinking. Okay, let's move on to the
Mm.
Oilers' bone crunching thug of a D man. Not a thug really, but kind of, and we love him for it. And Bruce, I want to say this: it wasn't just Oilers fans during the Cassian hit. It was me. It was me during the
Hmm.
Cassian hit.
Hmm.
I loved it. In that
Hmm.
moment, I love that hit. So I'm not gonna back off from that. That's how I felt about it, and I don't know if it happened now, would I feel differently? I can't answer that because things do change and our attitudes do change. So
If the refs had called a penalty, would you feel have felt differently at the time too? Would you said, "Oh, geez, that was dumb, Zach. You shouldn't have done that. You put our team shorthanded." But the refs just.
depends on the penalty, Bruce, because
Hmm.
the problem with the NHL is that crime's always paid, right? That they never penalize you enough for the damage, the physical and mental and morale damage you inflict on their team with your ultraviolence, right? That's why it was so crucial all those years to have the like. There was always often a confluence of having the most feared player in the league and the Stanley Cup winning team. You know, the Islanders with Potvin. Denny Potvin was a scary player that people feared. Mark Messier took over from him. You know, he was hockey's new Dark Lord for a long time. You know, Bobby Clark was hockey's Dark Lord before that.
Eddie
And
Shore.
Eddie Shore. There's a long history of
Take me back to my childhood.
that kind. You were just a teenager then. There's a long history of that kind of violence really paying off in the NHL playoffs. So I mean, Scott Stevens is the most recent example of that. And remember, and you know, Detroit wasn't a physical team, but that Cronwall when he hit
Hmm.
people, oh,
They
frack, he
stayed.
just
They stayed. Yeah.
destroyed them. And they were brutal hits. He's coming down, he's blindsiding people coming down the boards. You know, the typical Cronwall
Yeah.
hit was that. And anyway,
And they were coming the other direction, trying to get
yeah,
out of the zone, and he'd come into them. So it was like a head-on collision. And this was part of the issue with this Scheifele hit was they were going literally in opposite directions at that moment. Evans not so fast, but Scheifele very very fast. Anyway,
the best
Larson.
analysis, Bruce, was Matthew Barnaby.
Hmm.
You seen Matthew Barnaby's former NHL physical player, and he gave the best analysis, which is quite
I
similar to
haven't.
our own. That it was really clear that
Hmm.
the goal was scored. He had time to hold up, but he wanted to get the late hit. All right, Adam Larsson, Bruce, keep, hold, or fold.
Yeah, I'm in the keep camp on Adam Larsson.
Yeah, yeah.
Like him a lot. Always have liked him. As an old goalie, I've always had a soft spot for greasy defensemen. And by greasy, I don't mean dangerously dirty. I just mean guys that'll roll up their sleeves and defend their net with uh, um, what's the word? Uh, without prejudice. They just take on opponents and just go in and play the physical, rough and tough, grind it out kind of game. And Adam Larsson, as as tough a defender as he is, I don't really see him as a dirty player. And I mean, part of that might be my orange and blue goggles that I'm wearing. But I don't see him as dirty. I see him as
Yes.
mean and rough. And I don't see by dirty, I mean guys that try and put people out.
Fair enough, Bruce. He's not
I
that.
don't see him as a guy that tries to rough people up. Absolutely, soften them up. Absolutely, and you know what? I don't mind that. That's hockey. You give and you take your pound of flesh. It's part of the game. But he's not a guy that I've seen take advantage of and land injurious. It's like I can't remember seeing him injure someone with a hit. I mean, maybe it happened, but he does hit. He does play physical. He does make opponents pay a price, and he wins battles and he wins battles and he wins battles and he
He's not.
engages always in battles.
He's not going for the hit to
Hmm.
injure. Like some
Hmm.
players go for the hit to injure. I think
Hmm.
we've seen that on the Oilers, right? We've seen it with
Hmm.
various Oilers defensemen, Brian Marchment, Craig Muni.
Hmm.
We've seen the ones and the problem with that is Adam Larson's basic function is you can see in his mind is to stop the other team's best players from scoring. And the
Yeah.
big hit isn't on the agenda because if you go for that big hit, they're going to DQ now and then, and he doesn't want that
Hmm.
to happen. That's the worst thing that that will happen in the Adam Larsson book of hockey is getting beat on a grade A chance near your net. He's not going to allow that. So other defensemen are far more likely to to be thrown out of position in going for that hit. He might do it one or two times a year, but that's it. His play is just almost perfect defensive positioning. The best at least on the Oilers. Better than Chris Russell this year, which is saying a whole hell of a lot because Chris Russell is a master of defensive positioning. Always on the right side of the puck, using both his body and his stick to leverage players, knock players off, throw them off kilter, block their way to the net. And he just does it again and again and again. And I think honestly, there's still Adam Larsson could still learn from. Excuse me, Darnell Nurse could still learn from Adam
Hmm.
Larsson. Ethan
Hmm.
Bear, they should all watch how he does it because he's so good at it. He reminds me, he's kind of like a Liam Neeson movies are always kind of the same thing. It's someone's done something to his family
Right.
or his friend, and he's
Right.
going to get them back,
Or his dog.
or his dog, or that's Keanu but but
It is.
he he's gonna get them. They're gonna pay for what they've done, and this is Adam Larsson. Whatever they're doing, like that whole like the best thing in terms of countering rough stuff on Connor McDavid is to rough up their guys in legal fashion.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
Adam Larsson. He's the Liam Neeson. You get Connor McDavid, you get my friend. I'm going to get your guy. I'm going to get Ehlers, and I'm going to get Scheifele, and I'm going to get all these other players, and he gets them, and he usually shuts them down. So, you know,
But he
Bruce,
doesn't need them.
he doesn't need them. No, if they didn't have Adam Larsson, look at the Maple Leafs without Jake Muzzin. I think they lost that series because when Muzzin went out, he was the key cog on that team's defensive play. Adam Larsson is so crucial to the Oilers because they don't really have a defenseman. Like I like Darnell Nurse, but he is more error prone considerably than Adam Larsson. They don't have another defenseman like him who plays such a fantastic shutdown game. And by our way of rating hockey players in terms of grade A scoring chances, how many grade A scoring chances at even strength do you make a major pass or shot to create one? How many do you let up by turning over the puck at the other end, by losing a battle or being out of position? Last 2 years, Bruce, of defensemen who've played major minutes on the Oilers, Adam Larsson's been the best defenseman both years, ahead of Darnell Nurse. So
Hmm.
for me, he's also keep. He's keep for all of those reasons, but also because when we hear about his contract demands, I just think he's a bargain at $4 million or whatever it's gonna. If it's a 4 point, anywhere from 4 to 4.5, whatever it is, if it's the same amount, 3 or even 4 years term, he's not so old. I would prefer 3 years, honestly.
Yeah, me
But I
too.
just think what we're hearing word out, I just think that's a bargain. I see him as the Oilers' most effective two-way defenseman, ahead of Darnell Nurse, which is not something that most people would agree with or would say, and I understand why. But that's how I see Larson, and I think he's a real bargain at that price.
Yeah, I'm not sure I buy in the two-way aspect because his offensive game is nothing too special. He likes to think offense but he's not a very creative player. Every once in a while, he'll show up in an unexpected place, and once in a while he'll make a very nice pass, but those are more the exception than the rule. But he's, his value is certainly on the defensive side of the puck, but that is value. And on a team that has, especially on the right side of the defense, um, he kind of stands out for that aspect of his game. And I mean, ultimately, it seems like it's going to come down to it, uh, potentially a choice between Adam Larsson and Tyson Barrie, both of whom are veteran right shot defensemen whose contracts are expiring. And Oilers are likely, odds are they'll keep one, not both. And the question is, which do you need more? And they're very, very different from each other. But I think they've got a replacement in the system already for Barrie, who plays the same style, would play the same position. Let's put it that way in the lineup. And they got no Larsons on the right side of the defense.
Yeah, if William Lagesson had a better year, like if he had really stepped up and he had this clear, because he plays a very similar game to Larson, then there might be, might make an argument that Lagesson is to Larson what Bouchard is to Barrie, but you can't make that argument because William Lagesson really struggled, and he's 24, 25. He's not fresh out of the package like Bouchard is with his such fantastic potential. I just want to clarify what I was saying about the two-way thing. You're right, Bruce. Darnell Nurse's offense at even strength is far superior to Adam Larsson's. Like it's not close. Adam Larsson is one of the weaker offensive puck moving defensemen. But when you weigh it all up, because Larson is, I think, a lot better than Nurse in the defensive end, I think it's quite. I think the gap is bigger than. I'm going to suggest the gap's bigger than is generally recognized. That Nurse is more error prone. Than is generally, like, there was a lot of hoopla about Nurse, but he's still pretty error prone on defense. He still makes too many mistakes, like honestly, for my liking. I think some of it had to do with playing with Barrie this year with Nurse. He's covering up for him, and it's difficult to do. But Larson is just he's in a league of his own. Like, I think he's one of the very best, in the top 5 defensive defensemen in the NHL. And I can't say that with certainty because I don't rate and study the other defensive defensemen like I do Larson, but that's just my sense of it. In terms of Larson had a weak playoffs. Not a weak playoffs, an okay playoffs, mediocre. Not what I was hoping. Yeah. He was on the ice he was pinching up the ice on the series deciding goal where McDavid turned the puck over, Ethan Bear's short shift and ill-advised line change. Larson caught on the breakaway. He was another key goal. He and Kulikov failed to take the man. Puck was Winnipeg rushing into the zone. There's an outside shot, big rebound from Smith, and both Kulikov and Larson failed to take Tucker Pullman as he's going to the net. Another goal, which was a little bit more fluky, an overtime goal, goes right through Kulikov and deflects in off Larson, I believe, in overtime in Game 3. So there was some pretty high profile moments where Larson was at fault. I don't think he really meshed with Kulikov. I think Kulikov was okay as a player. Maybe if they brought him back, he might even be okay. Better if they got it together. But I have to say I'm not really in the Kulikov camp. So Larson wasn't great in the playoffs. He had been carrying players though all season long. Like there was a constant shifting of who's going to play with Adam Larsson. Who do we have out there with him? Caleb Jones was often with him. William Lagesson was with him for a time.
Quite a time.
William Lagesson, and they were good for quite a time. Chris Russell played a lot of time with him. It's funny, we never saw Nurse Larson. That might be if you really wanted to play a pairing super heavy minutes, like why not play that one? I've wondered about that a few times.
Larson's never really been a super heavy minutes kind of guy. Like he's always been around 20 minutes. He's not a 23, 25 minute defenseman. He plays hard minutes. Of course, he doesn't play power play, but he does play penalty kill. But he's always seemed to sort of, by minutes, been a second pairing guy, and Nurse, I think, by definition at this point, is first pairing. When Larson played with Oscar Klefbom, as he did for many years, Klefbom got a lot of extra time on the penalty kill, but I also think he got a few extra shifts at even strength. Where Nurse and Larson did play together this year, and quite a bit, was at a very late going, defending a lead, especially when the other team had the goalie out and were trying to tie it up. That was Nurse and Larson was the pairing of choice, and they played a lot of time. I would suggest 5-on-6, if we looked closely at their time together, that it would be very disproportionate towards the 5-on-6 scenario, and very late down the stretch. There was a couple of games there where Nurse and Larson played, almost the last 3 or 4 minutes of a game, but certainly right down the very late stretches. But he's otherwise, when they played together a little bit in the past, it wasn't the most successful of pairings.
Yeah, it could well be. I haven't even looked. I do actually recall that now that you mention it. Of course, they're both slightly different players now, especially Nurse, right? He's continued to trend up a bit. Some would say dramatically this year. You're right, Bruce. The most Larson's ever played was when he was a 23-year-old in New Jersey, 22-31 per game, and he played 1939 last year. He doesn't get power play time, so.
No.
It's funny you brought up.
He scored 4 power play points in his career, Adam Larsson. 4 points in his career, and they all came in calendar year 2011, when he was an 18-year-old rookie with New Jersey Devils, just taken in the draft 4th overall. And the point being that the Devils didn't know what they had. They thought they had an all-purpose defenseman. They tried him on the power play. He got a couple points. He's gone 10 years without a single point on the power play since then, as being a full-time NHLer, and he hasn't got one power play point. 10
He's
years.
got more
he is not a power player.
More short-handed points in that time than power play points.
Oh,
He's
sure.
got five short-handed points, and
still before.
His career power play is 4, and his career short-handed is 6. He learned his hockey from Scott Stevens, to bring it back to the violent play thing. He learned his defensive technique in New Jersey from Scott Stevens, and he has remarked on that in the past. Bruce, with Larson, I've been thinking of one thing. Like, there's been a lot of talk, why aren't the Oilers better? Why haven't they been a better team? And I know every team gets injury, but the two really significant injuries, taking out the Oilers' best defenseman both times, and it's hard to get a number 1 defenseman. It's hard to get anywhere close to that. Were Andrei Sekera first, just a fantastic hockey player, and then Oscar Klefbom, just a fantastic hockey player, and trending to be a true number 1 defenseman. Sekera played at that level in 2016-17 as a number 1, just maybe the best, actually, season that we've seen from a defenseman in the McDavid era was Sekera's season in 2016-17. You can make an argument for that. And then he goes out. Then Klefbom goes out. And if you want to look at what set back the Oilers, if they had a healthy Oscar Klefbom this season, with Darnell Nurse playing the way he did, that's a significant change in the Edmonton Oilers in terms of how everything operates and everything works, and what you're trying to do, spending your money on, and balancing the roster and all those kinds of things. It just makes a huge difference. So tough for the Oilers in that regard, those 2 key injuries. And I'm not saying other teams haven't had key injuries. Right. They have, but those ones hurt quite a bit, and they continue to.
Number 1 defenseman, as you say, they're pretty hard to replace.
Yeah. Final thoughts on Adam Larsson, Bruce?
Yeah, you mentioned the playoffs, and I look at his game log from the playoffs, and I see this: -1, -1, -1, -1. They played 4 games. They essentially lost them all by 1 goal. The one game had a couple of empty net goals, but I can assure you that Adam Larsson was not on the ice when the Oilers were trying to tie the game late. So those all came on basically 1-goal losses, where his pairing was the difference in terms of, they got outscored in each and every one of those games. So to me, that playoff showing was disappointing, in that his track record throughout the year had been do not let them pass. And we recorded a number of clean games that he played where he made no defensive errors. But in the playoffs, I don't think we had any of those. And then 2 or 3 of those that you already identified were plays where the puck one way or another went through Larson and wound up in the net. So
yeah, a couple injuries came into play here too, right? First to Chris Russell, who I think would have actually would have been his partner based on Kulikov's play in the regular season, which was kind of up and down, not scintillating. Chris Russell, I think, would have started the playoffs with Adam Larsson if he had been healthy and hadn't been injured by our friend Matthew Kukuk. And Slater Kukuk was also injured heading into the playoffs. Slater Kukuk, I thought, is the most underrated member of the D-man core this year on the Edmonton Oilers. I thought he had a really good year. I hope he comes back and is re-signed. We'll talk about him more in detail. But I just wonder if he might have been a good partner for Larson if he hadn't been injured, if he wouldn't have stepped up and filled in that role. Because he's just a solid all-around defenseman right now. So the partnership didn't take off, let's say, the Kulikov Larson. It wasn't like, the Great Wall. It didn't form. It was breached a number of times. My memory of the plays that there was too much gap on Kulikov on a few of those plays. Players coming in and some trouble came from there. He wasn't stepping up enough to make the plays. Certainly that overtime goal that went through his stick, he could have been a little closer, got on that puck and stopped that shot before it got going. The Pullman goal also kind of came up his side. And if he had stepped up, or if it, looked like he should step up on the shooter, get on that shooter before he can take that first shot. Then you don't have to worry about Pullman. And so I'm more inclined to think Kulikov was Kulikov, kind of what I expected. And I don't think he'll be back. I guess we could do a podcast on him. It's not on our list, I guess, because we're just assuming he's not going to get signed again, I guess.
Well, I'm guessing we might want to do a catch-all where we go through the sort of lower level free agents and talk about more briefly about each of them. But
yeah,
Larson is an upper level free agent. I mean, clearly there's four. I think anybody would agree, big ones: Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Adam Larsson, Tyson Barrie, Mike Smith, that are all unrestricted free agents that Oilers need to make a decision on. But there's actually 11 guys who have expiring contracts, including one who's already signed a 6-year deal overseas in Joachim Nygaard, so we don't need to talk about him. But there's a few other guys, and Ken Holland's track record is that he'll bring guys back. So maybe he does come back to one or two of these expiring contracts, like Gaetan Haas that he already brought back once, or Patrick Russell, players of this nature that are at least under consideration. But there's certainly 4 that are vastly more important than the rest.
All right, let's leave it there, Bruce. I think we've covered the topic, and we're both in the keep. We are both in the keep camp. Thanks for talking today.
All right, thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.